but everyone has a different story to tell. Shell, which says it's losing it.
The Tapper Market.
In Northeast Africa, precisely on the Horn of Africa.
All right. Good afternoon to you, everyone. Welcome to the program, the Sunday program, 2 o'clock. It's actually 1 p.m., but I took it to 2 o'clock because I was invited for a service, which of course I did not complete the service. I have to boycott the service to come and have the show. So that's why I dropped it from 2 to 1. So forgive me on that. So as you can see, I just got back. I did not even change. So I still in this attire. So I never dressed for this occasion. It was for another occasion. But when I got back, there was no time to change. But however, we are still revolutionary. We can dress in any way, in any form to present. So today's topic, it says, Niger coup is a freedom from US and EU imperialist agenda. Niger coup is a freedom from the United States and from Europe, specifically the enslaver, the colonizer, the oppressor, okay, from their agenda to African agenda. And then it also went as far as saying, shame on AU, but actually, shame on ECWA. Shame on ECWA for having a colonial agenda, okay, to prosecute Niger, for having a colonial agenda, a colonial memo to prosecute Niger, to prosecute the people of Niger, to punish the people of Niger. Shame on ECWA and also on AU. Now, why did I say shame on ECWA and shame on AU? Now, folks, before we get into what we are actually here to discuss about Niger, okay, and the hypocrisy of the United States, the hypocrisy of EU, France, and the rest, and the list go on, right? Before we even come to that, shame on ECWA and shame on AU. Shame on our African leader. Shame on them. Why today, ECWA, an African entity, an African organization that need to care for African people and not for European people and not for American agenda. While we're an African entity, an African organization that need to protect the life of Africans, that need to protect the African continent, while we're EU, or let's say AU or ECWA, have an agenda or a memo or a verse from America or from Europe to carry on a mandate. Where were ECWA when America, when they bombed Libya? Where were ECWA? Have ECWA ever questioned the United States? Have ECWA ever questioned Obama about wrongfully killing an African leader? Have ECWA ever questioned Obama, the killer? Obama, the killer of Gaddafi. Hillary Clinton, the killer. Hillary Clinton, the killer of Gaddafi. Obama, the destroyer of Libya. Hillary Clinton, the destroyer of Libya. America, the destroyer of Libya. America, the kill Libyan. Where were ECWA? ECWA, did you question these people? Did you come after these people? Did you speak about what they did to African people in Libya? Did you speak about what they did to another African leader in Libya? Did you speak? ECWA, EU or AU, did you speak? Did you speak when America sent back 6 African leaders who were on their way to Libya to talk to Gaddafi, for African leaders to have a dialogue, a meaningful dialogue with Libya, with Gaddafi, and you send those African leaders back and told them, if you go, we're going to bomb you, we're going to kill you, we're going to bomb your flight. ECWA, why didn't you question the United States for sending back those presidents? Oh yeah, Museveni just told us, the Ugandan president just told us that they were on their way as an African leader to have a meeting with Libya, when Washington, D.C. told them their plane should turn around and go back. Are we not a colonial continent to America and Europe, to NATO? How dare you sound that a NATO organization, European organization, imperialist colonizer, told you to turn your plane back on an African soil, not over America, not over Europe, but on an African soil. African delegates, leader, were flying over the zone, on African zone, African airspace. And America told them, don't go. Washington, D.C. told them, how dare you, we will bomb your plane. ECWA, useless organization. Yes, at this time, ECWA is useless. At this time, AU is useless. Useless organization we call ECWA and AU. Where were you people? Have you people ever questioned Obama? Have you people, all the United Nations meeting and summit you guys been having, coming to Washington, D.C. or New York? Have you people ever questioned the United Nations about what Obama killed Gaddafi and Obama destroyed Gaddafi? Have you people questioned why America invaded Libya wrongfully? Today, where is the democracy they promised to the Libyan people? Have you questioned America each time you come for the useless UN summit? Useless UN summit. Have you ever questioned the United Nations to bring America to the ICC, to bring America to pay for a crime? Have you gathered your so-called useless army in Nigeria to go and fight NATO? When they run for the kill Gaddafi, they destroy Libya, invaded Libya, your useless army that you cannot even use to fight Boko Haram. In Nigeria, useless army. The Nigerian armies are useless. You sat in Nigeria, innocent life, children, they are being kidnapped and raped. Useless army in Nigeria. You cannot defeat Boko Haram. And you sit down there. They kill African in Nigeria 24/7. Boko Haram kill and kidnap African. Rape our girls. Impregnate them. Unwanted pregnancy. Nigeria, Tinubu. You won a disputed election. An election that can be disputed. You won it. An election that is disputed. You won it. And you sit down there. Since you became president, have you ever spoken about Boko Haram in Nigeria? Go and defeat Boko Haram first. Give justice to the Nigerians that have been kidnapped. The Nigerians that have been impregnated by those Boko Haram. Give them justice. Your useless ECWA army. Oh, but you want to go and invade Libya, Niger. You want to go and fight Niger, to go and kill Africans. Oh, so you love Africans to be dying. You love Africans to die by their numbers. I see. That is why in DRC Congo, you useless AU or ECWA sit there every day. You allow the people in DRC Congo to die because America or EU have never told you to make move, to make statement in DRC Congo. You sit and watch while Western weapons are being proliferating in DRC Congo and looting our resources. You have made no statement, but you got a gust. You had the gust when France, the thief, the rogue, the colonizer, the oppressor, make a statement and say we are losing Africa and say we will fight. Oh, so you want to go and fight for France through ECOWAS. You want to go and fight for America through ECOWAS. Because the moment you go to Niger, American ammunition will be sent to Niger. France ammunition will be sent to Niger. The army you're going to send in Niger, those are the army America will be supplying with arms. Europe will be supplying with arms. Oh, but no, America have not yet supplied African people with arms to go for the terrorists. Europe have not yet supplied African people to go fight the terrorists. But the moment ECOWAS say, we will go to Niger, then America came and say, yes, that's the right thing to do. Europe came and said, yes, that's the right thing to do. To go and fight the battle of America. To go and fight the battle of Europe. Now that's the time America will see the need to send weapons to Africa for Africans to kill themselves. But America have not yet sent weapons to go kill Boko Haram. America have not sent weapons to go kill the terrorists. Useless American army on the African continent. Useless African on the African continent. Useless French army bases. Useless foreign bases on the African continent. You're not there to fight Boko Haram, but you are there to protect where they have strategic mineral resources and have your bases there. And then when you speak, you give order to ECOWAS. This generation of Africans, we want to warn ECOWAS and AU. If you are not there to fight for African, leave the way. Leave the way. Leave the way. Because if you stand in our way, we are coming for you. And we have no regret. We are unapologetic of our struggle. We are unapologetic of measures and solutions we were going to take for our struggle, for our liberation. We are unapologetic. By the way, we are already dead. We are dead. Whether we live in Africa or we live out of Africa, we are dead. And we will fight like dead people. Useless ECOWAS. Useless AU. And chairman and leader authority of ECOWAS, how dare you come and stand, giving Niger time to have what? We're going to move. We're going to do this. Why didn't you move? When Obama supported terrorists to go kill Gaddafi, why didn't you move? Why didn't you mobilize your army? You got army. When Obama went and supported terrorists to kill Gaddafi, when Obama gave army ammunition to terrorists, today those terrorists are the one proliferating in Africa with American weapons that Obama gave to them to go kill Gaddafi. With American supply of armed vehicles, Obama gave to them, to those terrorists, to go kill Gaddafi. Oh, you have forgotten. You have forgotten. You have forgotten. Useless ECOWAS and AU. You have forgotten. But we have not. And we will remind you. And we will stand in every corner, in every aspect that we need, that we see it, that it is the right decision to make for the liberation of Africa. Are you not understanding? We are in a time period just like the 60s. The men and women in the 60s, whether in America, in the diaspora, in Africa, the men and women that stood up for freedom, they were all in their 30s. They were never in their 50s. They were never in their 80s. They were never in their 70s. So we have come to realize we have to go back to the 60s. We have to go back to the 60s. And if going back to the 60s, we will have no fear. Because the younger generation in the 60s are the younger generation coming back again. Are you not saying the masses of Africans Are you seeing old folks speaking to us? These are younger generation. Because we have been insulted for so long by Europe and America. We have been oppressed for so long by Europe and America. We have been lied to and deceived for so long by Europe and America. And that we have come to realize. And if there is any useless organization like ECOWAS and AU on the African continent, it was the same mistake you guys did in 1963. Division caused Africa to now unite in 1963. And it is the same division because we listened to our colonizer. And today, African nations, some are listening to the oppressor. Some are listening to America and Europe, while some are saying, I am going with the Casablanca group of the 1963. And some are still going with the so-called Moravia group with their colonizer. And those that are going with their colonizer, those are the people that say we want to march on Niger, but not understanding the factors of the struggle of African people, not understanding the reason for the coup. Do you think Africans just want to go remove anybody in power? Do you think Africans just want to go and remove their leaders? Do you think so? Let's get into it. Now, I'm going to bring out a video and we're going to start from there. I'm going to use a couple of videos for introduction, just to make some of our viewers who don't know what is going on the African continent, not just in Niger. Because most of our folks don't understand what is going on in Africa. And what happened in one African nation, that is the same thing exactly going on in the rest of the other African nation. So what is happening in Niger, that's what's happening in all Africa. So let me bring a video so that you can understand. Because the narrative that mainstream media gave us, or you have seen, like yesterday, I was speaking to a brother, and he said to me, Russia is supporting Niger for Niger to hate America. And I told him, brother, that is a strong war yet. Russia is not supporting Niger, even if Russia is supporting Niger, but Russia is not supporting Niger to hate America. If you have a limited knowledge, then you will go with that. But Russia has been supporting Africa on the African continent since independent days against the colonizer, the oppressor, against America and Europe. What have Africans not gone against America or Europe? Because Russia has been supporting America or Africa since in the 60s or beyond the 60s to get independent. Why then Africa or African people did not hate America? And I told him, open your minds. Just because African people have choices or have choice to choose, that doesn't mean they hate America. Just because African people want to seek their interests or best for them, that doesn't mean they hate America. So stop misleading the people by saying Russia support African so that they can hate America. Why would anybody want to hate America? Why would anybody want to hate Europe? Nobody hate America and nobody hate Europe. And at least I was able to direct him that when you are out there and you want to educate people, educate them well and let them understand. Because the knowledge you give to people, that's the knowledge they're carrying, and they will use that same knowledge to impact on other people. And at the end of the day, it still makes us less productive. And I don't think I want to be here to make anybody less productive. If that's the case, I'm out. Let's continue here. I can't see what I'm looking for. Okay. Be with me, folks. I have a lot of stuff here. I didn't really put stuff together like I usually do because I had to digest it from. All right, so we're gonna play this video first as an introduction. Okay. All right, we're gonna play this for as an introduction because I want for people to understand, and some of the people that also watch the recording who don't know what is going on in Niger or who don't understand. This thing is not about African hating France. We don't hate. Africans have never hated anybody. In fact, if that was the case, I don't think anybody who supports white supremacy would have been on the African continent. Because I don't want to say why. Because if I say why, then I'll be saying we don't want white people on the African continent. But what I'm saying here is, if indeed African people have ever hated anybody or should hate anybody, which of course we have never, okay? I don't think nations that colonized Africans, that enslaved Africans, those nations would have still been in Africa today doing business. I don't think so. So we want for people to understand Africans don't hate, and Africans have never hated anybody. And Africans have never hate, and Africans will never hate. It is the other folks on the other side who are so hateful.
Angered by the presence of French and U.S. troops. What's going on in West Africa right now? In Niger, thousands of people are rallying in support of Niger's coup leaders. People are angered by the presence of French and U.S. troops in military bases and by the economic crisis inflicted on their countries, calling for France to get out. The most recent coup in Niger follows coups in Mali, Guinea, and Burkina Faso. It is no coincidence that these countries are also home to some of the world's most valuable resources, like iron, gold, and uranium. Niger has one of the largest uranium reserves and supplies 25% of the uranium in Europe, providing electricity for millions of European households. However, Niger barely sees any of this natural wealth, as Orano, the French company that's a direct successor of the colonial French mining enterprise Areva, was given exclusive mining rights to Niger until 2040. Orano has also left 20 million tons of radioactive waste out in the open in northern Niger, exposing residents to extreme levels of radiation. In response, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has already issued sanctions threatening military interventions in Niger and mobilizing army generals, all in line with the imperialist logic determined by the US and France. Hundreds of West African organizations condemn these calls, not only stating the right of the people of Niger to determine the future of their country, but also citing the long history of the disastrous consequences of military intervention in the region. For example, the 2011 military operation that tore Libya apart, where NATO launched more than 10,000 air raids on the country with over 500,000 civilian casualties and led to a complete destruction of society and societal organization. The West African People's Organization also states that only the West would benefit from a war because restoring peace also means restoring Western imperialist plunder of natural resources. This comes right after the conclusion of the second Russia-Africa Summit, where African leaders reaffirmed their sovereignty, their support for the Niger people's right to self-determination, and their commitment to Pan-Africanism. The West is scrambling to reestablish its draining chokehold on Africa, but the African people say no. In spite of pressure from the West, African countries have largely rejected the condemnation of Russia over Ukraine war, and instead are critical of NATO's role. The African people are expelling colonizers and defending their right to sovereignty, refusing to bow down to Western imperialism and bullying. The resources of Africa belong to the African people.
Now, the reason why I took this video is a very short video with just 2 minutes, where it summarizes everything, almost everything going on in Africa, almost everything that America and Europe stand for in Africa. It almost summarizes everything that America and Europe stand for in Africa. It is not for Africans. It is not to fight for Africans. It is not to supply resources to Africans. It is not to supply medical supply to Africans. It is not to supply safe drinking water to Africans. It is not to supply safe vaccine for Africans. It is not it. It is not to supply, how they call it, a great education or to Africans. It is not for that. It is not to empower Africans. It is not for that. What you saw in this video is what America stands for. What you saw in this video is what Europe stands for. You know why they stand for it? Because they are colonizer. You know why they stand for it? Because they are oppressor. You know why they stand for it? Because they are enslaver. You know why they stand for it? Because they are chaos. You know why they stand for it? Because they support war. You know why they stand for it? Because this is how their economy has been built. Looting and destruction and chaos and killing people. That's why they stand for it. They don't stand for dialogue. Since when in history have America and Europe ever had a dialogue with people, with other nations, with other continents, so that they can both have a great partnership, equal partnership, fair partnership? Since when? I wait. Maybe I'll give 1 minute. Maybe somebody have the answer. Give me time in history that America have ever had a dialogue with any African nations, that both that country and America will have a mutual and safe and productive and healthy relationship, where America will listen to that nation's interest, and that nation will listen to America's interest, without that nation being a puppet, without that nation being a subject. When in history? Let me see it. That's why when we speak with evidence. Because the words come out. Because these are things that have happened and is still happening. Oh, yes. The last time what Joe Biden said any nation, and he was referring to Africa, by the way. He said any nation that do not agreed to America interest, to America foreign policy, that nation will never, ever have America technology. They will never, ever benefit from the technology of America. And that is a true statement, because that's how America have done over the years, by censuring African nations that do not agree to the selfish policies of America. Now, do you see when these people speak? Now, the video you have watched, it is just an understanding to some people who do not know the problems, not only to the African continent, but to any African nation, whether in South America. What happened in Africa, that's what happened in South America. What happened in South America, that's the same thing happening in Africa. So if we are using one clip or a scenario about South America, that also applies to Africa. If we are using one clip or a scenario about Africa, that's the same thing happening in South America. So that's one of the reasons you see the chaos or the issue going on in Niger. Now, when it happened, Joe Biden and the so-called U.S. Congress came out to condemn what happened in Niger. And what did they say? What did Joe Biden say and the useless Congress of America say? That hypocrisy Congress. What did they say? Oh, Brazil, in fact, they overthrew a democratic leader. Niger is a democratic nation, a country. They shouldn't do that. They should respect the rule of law. Nonsense. Were there no rule of law in Haiti, America, when you went there and removed the people democratic elected president? Were there no rule of law? Wasn't that a democracy? Elected by the people holistically, and when you remove them, we just ask you and remind you, and we will use any word to describe you. Useless Congress of America. When you went to DRC Congo and killed Patrick Lumumba with your CIA, oh, that is not democracy. Oh, that wasn't rule of law. When he was elected by the people. So what is your definition of democracy? Hypocrite. What is your definition, America, of democracy? Oh, not only that. Do you want me to remind you, America, or Joe Biden? Do you want me to remind you? I should keep going. Okay, let me keep going. When you went and killed Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso, was it not rule of law or was it not democracy? And I will keep reminding you again. Oh, so it is democracy to support dictatorship in Africa. You support Farouk or Togo, family who are ruled for over 50 years. Oh, so that is the kind of democracy you're talking about, America. Oh, now we understand. Now do you see what we hide, the way we are hiding? You support a family in DRC, or let's say in Togo, who are ruled for over 50 years. And the Togolese has spoken so many times, has spoken to the United Nations, and has spoken to Washington, D.C. because they say you believe in democracy, you believe in rule of law, you believe in the voice of the people. And the voice of the people came to you and spoke about the dictatorship in Togo. You pay ear nuts, but in fact, you support that dictatorship. Oh, so that's rule of law. Oh, okay, now we understand. Now, do you see why we don't agree with you? And when we say we don't agree with you, then you say we love Libya. I mean, we love Putin, and we don't love America. Now, do you see when we deviate and say, what a minute? There's America and Europe have been lying to us. When we began to get sense and to take action and to take the rightful direction, and then you say, we love Putin, we love Russia. No. Get that straight into your skull. Oh, let me remind you again. You support Pombiad, who are ruled for almost 40 years. So is that democracy? Is that rule of law? Not in the interest of the people. Oh, so that's democracy. Oh, so when an African leader come out to stand out to speak, to stand for his people and his continent, his nation, that's against democracy. That's against rule of law. That's against. Oh, so that is your definition of democracy. That is your definition of rule of law. Nonsense. So that is why you came out and said Niger had a democratic elected president. Why should they remove him? Why did you remove all those people we just named? Why were you in a fight to remove Kwame Nkrumah? Oh, you see? You see? Once a colonizer is still a colonizer, and once a colonizer will remain a colonizer. Once an enslaver is still an enslaver, and once an enslaver will remain an enslaver. Once a killer will remain a killer, and it will stay a killer. Once a liar will remain a liar, and will always remain a liar. And that we have come to recognize it. Nobody hate America. Nobody hate America and love another nation because of no. We have just come to understand that America, it is not a good person. America will never be a good nation to the African continent and to any African nations. You have been lying to us because we have evidence. These are all evidence that we are speaking here. Did you not kill Gaddafi? Did Gaddafi not provide for his people? Why can't you go now? We are not saying to go and kill the Togolese president, but why can't you go and bomb Togo and kill the Togolese president? But you bomb and kill a nation, a leader that provided for his people in Libya, the only nation in Africa that never had money credited from America, money credited from Europe, from the colonizer, the only nation. Oh, so that's what made you angry and said that's not democracy. So democracy is where we become puppet to you. Democracy is where and we become obedient to you. Democracy is where we go and take loan. Our own money. And these are some of the things we're coming to discuss today. Useless Congress of America. The law to sit and says Niger received aid from America, aid from Europe, aid from France. How can Niger, how can nation in Africa be called a nation of aid country? But at the same time, France gets $500 billion United States dollar every year from those countries. Out of that $500 billion, France take 1 million, 1 million, 1 million, 2 million, 2 million, 2 million, and give it back to those countries, and you call it aid. Now understand that. Give me that economy. Give me that logic. How can France take $500 billion? How can I take $500 billion from you and then come back in return and give you 2 million in aid, and give your son 1 million in aid, give your wife 1 million, I say aid, give your other whosoever in your household 1 million, 1 million, I give you 2 million. Who is receiving aid? Is that aid? I just took $500 billion from you. We got to understand something here. And that's the kind of narrative Europe and America, their mainstream media, travel with. And then the rest of the people who don't understand, they say, oh, African people feed on American aid and European aid. Why can't you be truthful? Let's continue here to the next video. So that's the first video we just watched, right? So we have seen some of the reason of the uprising in Nigeria, okay? And we're going to see that as we continue to go in Africa, okay? We're going to see it because we are tired. We are tired. Our resources cannot be coming to Europe and America, okay? While they are living better life, and then they close their bolos, and then they insult us. They cost us when it is our resources. They call us shithole, insignificant. Then they close their border, they call us monkeys. When our African players tried and they play for European cups, European league, okay, making money for them, and they give us little crumbs, and then they be throwing banana at us on a fee, and they say we are monkey, we should eat banana. When our African players are doing the best, they still insult them. Do you think we can have the best league in Africa if we want to maintain everything in Africa? In fact, you will be migrating to the African continent. Who is receiving aid? Now you understand when African people want to back, then America start crying a baby. Europe start crying a baby. Because they cannot survive without Africans. They can. So they want us to remain silent and mumu and stupid. Then that's the only way they will survive. If Africa is a shithole country, why can't you leave Africa when African peoples are making decisions? If Africans are insignificant, why are you telling ECOWAS to go in Niger to go fight? Nonsense. Let's continue here. We're ready for you people.
military coups of their own. No, you mean that they're sick of France occupying them and they want their country back. There, I fixed it for you. See, Niger is a country famous for its uranium. When we talk about neo-colonialism, this is one of the best examples. The French are heavily dependent on nuclear energy, and 1/3 of French homes are powered by uranium that comes from Niger, the Eiffel Tower even. Meanwhile, in Niger, 80% of the population do not even have electricity. France needs Niger's uranium so much, and yet Niger is the second poorest country in the world. How is this possible? Because the French are robbing them blind, taking and giving pennies. French neo-colonialism. So do not be surprised when people in Niger are chanting "À bas la France," down with France, and flying Russian flags. African countries are sick of being robbed. They are being independent. They are choosing to pivot away from Western colonizers. Because they in Niger, the BBC said there are concerns Niger could move away from its Western allies and closer to Russia, like its neighbors Burkina Faso and Mali, who've both pivoted to Moscow since recent military coups of their own. No, you mean that they're sick of France occupying them and they want their country back. There, I fixed it for you. See, Niger is a country famous for its uranium. When we talk about neo-colonialism, this is one of the best examples. The French are heavily dependent on nuclear energy, and 1/3 of French homes are powered by uranium that comes from Niger, the Eiffel Tower even. Meanwhile, in Niger, 80% of the population do not even have electricity. France needs Niger's uranium so much, and yet Niger is the second poorest country in the world. How is this possible? Because the French are robbing them blind, taking and giving pennies. French neo-colonialism. So do not be surprised when people in Niger are chanting "À bas la France," down with France.
All right. That is just another video, okay? So we are going to open the minds of people before we can even get to the situation in Niger and then see the reaction of the people, right? But we are building the understanding. We want for people to understand, because here it is not where we come and just speak with opinion, okay? So I'm showing this video for some people. I know a lot of you here understand it, but not all of us. We can't assume that all of us, the African people, Black people, already know what is going on. Not everybody know. Okay, so we want for people to understand the reason why Africans in Niger are acting the way they are acting. Because we don't want to bring video and then show Niger, acting the way they acting. You may not understand. And then when you hear the people on the ground in Niger speaking, now you will relate and say, I see. This is why this is going on. But you see, mainstream media, they don't do these things. They just go straight and pick what they want to pick and give it to you. But in educating our people, we're not going to do that. We're going to bring the reasons to their actions. We are not looking at the actions, but we are looking at the reasons that led to the action. That is our concern, and that's where we're looking at. We are not looking at because they overtook the president. No, he's not dead. He's alive. He's not dead. He's alive. So we are not looking because they overthrow him or they remove him from power. We don't care. And a lot of African leaders going to be removed from power like that because we are in a different time period. The 60 is coming back. The 60, I repeat, the 60 is coming back because we are tired with America and Europe nonsense. What they did in 1963 is not going to happen. We're not going to have two groups, Casablanca and Morovia. That was the 60. Not now. And that is why when ECOWAS, that useless organization, threatening Niger and the rest of the nation in that area. One ECOWAS, don't try. Unless you want to see African bloods. And that it will be in the favor of Europe and America for African to die. For African to fight, it will be in their favor. Because you will not focus on solution. You will not focus on peace. And that's the time they will bring American weapons. They will bring European weapons. The only time American weapons or European weapons will go on the African continent to supply the African military is when they're fighting among themselves and killing one another. But they will supply ammunition to the African military to go kill the Boko Haram. You know why? Because they want for proxy war to continue. Who want to remove Boko Haram? Because if you kill Boko Haram, if you kill the terrorists, then that means no more proxy war. There will be peace. That means there will be no story to tell. So, ECOWAS, you better be warned. Don't do that mistake again. Never. Tinubu. You are already old. All your flesh are dropping off. Look at your face. Look at your face, Tinubu. Look at your face. You need to be sitting home and looking after your great-grandchildren or your grandchildren. You need to be sitting home telling them stories like our forefather did. You need to be sitting home telling stories to your grandchildren. You can even talk. When you are talking, your lip is... Now, this is not their respect to Nigeria. We respect Nigeria. In fact, they are the superpower. We respect Nigeria in West Africa as West Africa superpower. But when they make mistake, that does not mean we will not come after them. When they blunder, when Nigeria blunder, we will tell Nigeria, despite they being our big brother, they being the superpower. If they make mistake, we will tell them, you are going the wrong path. Nigeria remain our superpower. But Tinubu, don't spoil Nigeria. Don't make Nigeria to go low. Don't make African nation to disrespect Nigeria. We don't want to do that. Do not make African nation, Tinubu, do not make African nation to disrespect Nigeria. Nigeria remain respected, and Nigeria will remain respected. And Nigeria, we will respect you. Yes, sir. But Tinubu, do not make African nations, do not make African youth to disrespect Nigeria. Don't do it. Let's continue here. Now, to be fair, let's do this fairly, okay? Let's go to one video, all right, of Nigerian, of African in Niger talking. Because America said, you know, when this thing happened, I had a video in my email, but I have a lot of email that I sent, a lot of, things that I sent to my email, and then I lost track of that particular email. But there was a video when this thing happened in Nigeria. American mainstream media went and took few pictures, okay? Few Africans. And then America said, those people were in support of Bazoum, of their leader. In fact, they were telling the army to release him. Or democracy, be baja. Nonsense. But I have not seen any video from Western mainstream media to show how the citizens in Niger have rallied or support to the army. How the citizens are saying they support the army. In fact, it is a citizen in Nigeria or in Niger, in Niger, that are telling ECOWAS, don't try it. The citizen. But I have not seen American mainstream media talking about it. You see how hypocrisy they are. So, to be fair, before I bring out another introduction, right, let me bring out this video. So basically, we're going to be looking at video. Maybe I might bring one or two articles Okay, just for some references. But we want to see the reaction of people. It is the reaction of people we want to see, because mainstream media will not show this. Like how they have already done it. And Phil Biden, a Phil president, have come out to speak what he don't know about. Africa is not America. Africa is not America, or America is not Africa. For Easter, anything happen in Africa, not in the interest of America, then America come and speak. Anytime things happen in Africa, if it is not in the interest of America, America come and speak, or Europe come and speak. But when things happen in Europe or in America that is not in the interest of Africa, we don't speak, because we feel that is another territory. We leave it. Africa is not a colonial continent. Be warned, America. America, be warned. So let's see the video. These are people in Nigeria, or let's say in Niger. America have not come out. Now, America says she believed in the people. Okay, voice of the people, and they say that's democracy. But then why, when African people speak or voice out, America don't follow it? What a hypocrite to America.
Étrangères, les personnes qui doivent quitter chez nous, les Niger seuls. Cette marche suivie des meetings du M62 et d'intimer la CEDEAO et la France et tous leurs alliés de ne pas intervenir militairement au Niger. Nous demandons le départ immédiat et sans condition de toutes les forces d'occupation au Niger, notamment les forces étrangères françaises.
Nous pensons que l'arrivée des militaires à la tête du pays va nous donner un peu plus d'espoir, en pensant que leur arrivée va faire en sorte que la situation d'insécurité va changer.
S'il y a des gens qui font sortir le drapeau de la Russie, nous ne sommes pas contre, c'est parce qu'ils ont vu entrer dans la sous-région le rapport de coopération de certains pays avec la Russie. On sent qu'il y a un traitement d'égalité et c'est pourquoi ils ont fait sortir ces drapeaux.
Okay, anyway, it was in French, right? But what they were saying here is, as you're seeing the writing, like I said, nobody against Europe or nobody against America. But they were saying, first of all, ECOWAS should not intervene militarily. These are not military speaking, these are civilian. And they are saying they support the coup. They want him out. And they are saying, but their ally with Russia is because they feel that what they can gain from Russia is 50-50. They can gain something from Russia. And it will improve their life. I mean, folks, How long America and France been in Africa? We're talking about the 1600. All right? We're going to get into it deeper as we go. But we're talking about the 1600. They've been there. What have the improvement that Europe and America have given to those Africans as compared to the improvement Africa have given to Europe and America? But you won't see this on mainstream media voice to show the people voicing out in support of the coup. Let's continue here. Because we're running out of time, we're going to be, I'm not going to speak too long, but I mean, you guys already finishing what I got to say, but at some point I will break in. So let's see another area here. Okay. Let's see this short video here. Now, this video here is from Pierre Lumumba, and he's telling us the reason why America and Europe are still behaving like how they are behaving to African today. He's about to tell us in 1 minute.
Around the world pretending to tell us what to do. You know, one of the most painful statements that I ever heard in my life was from a former British Prime Minister, Tony Blair, when he said that Africa is a scar on the conscience of the world. How dare he? It is because we have never asked them to answer for their atrocities. The day they do, they will know that we are truly hungry. They have never. And that is why some of us are very serious about this whole idea of reparations and proper apology. They have never apologized. The British have never faced justice. That is why they still run around the world pretending to tell us what to do. You know, one of the most painful statements that I ever heard in my life was from a former British Prime Minister, Tony Blair, when he said that Africa is a scar on the conscience of the world. How dare he? It is because we have never asked them to answer for their atrocities.
All right, as we keep building, all right, like what he said in this video, I could have said it, but I don't want to copy from him. I want he say it, and then I just add it up. Okay, now he said it clear. It was the same France that went in Rwanda, okay, with Paul Kagame, and said France played a role. In fact, if it wasn't because of the role France played in let's say in Rwanda, the incident that happened in Rwanda could not have happened. France said it. Now, France said that, right? What has France paid back in reparation to Rwanda? Now, some of the Africans that took part in a genocide in Rwanda were sent to the International Criminal Court and they were charged. But how about where the support came from? And this man said if it wasn't because of their support, it was never going to happen. And African leaders have never questioned those people to bring them to light and say, you brought the drugs in the country and then you charge the men who bought the drugs on the street to go and do petty sales. You charge him. But how about the man who brought the drugs in the country before the man who bought the drugs to go do petty trade? He have now been charged. And the man who brought the drugs said, I brought the drugs. If it wasn't because of my action of bringing the drugs, your citizens could not have smoked to die. Now, it's just a scenario I'm giving. Macron said it was their support with the arm and ammunition in Rwanda. Macron said it was their support of their mainstream media to carry a narrative to say the Houthis or the Tutsis are enemies. It was their narrative because they lied to the people. If it wasn't because of their influence, Houthis and Tutsis or whatsoever could not have been enemies. And we did nothing. That's why these people continue to do what they are doing to us. We sat down there in 2011 when America and her NATO nations went and killed Gaddafi and another leader. Now, listen to the hypocrisy. An African soldiers went and overthrew a president, did not kill him. He's alive. And America threatened us. An African organization threatened Africans. But NATO, America and her NATO ally, went and walked in Africa, flew over Africa, supported terrorists, insurgency, supported them to go destroy Libya. ECOWAS did not come out to condemn it, to speak, to put army together. ECOWAS never came out to do it. African leaders never condemned it. But the rest of the world never condemned America because they are NATO. But when Africa says we want to remove a puppet government, then it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem. Because African leaders have not yet put America to a place and tell them, you have looted our resources for so long. Pay back what you have stolen from us. You have African identities in your museum. You have African skeletons in your museum. You have African artifacts in your museum. But yet there you say Africa did not contribute to civilization. When you have African civilization in your museum that you study about to improve on your so-called civilization, and you say Africa have not contributed to your civilization. You have African education in your museum all over Europe. You have African on your walls, in your churches, in the Buckingham Palace. You have Africans artifacts. You have African civilization all there that your students go and research on and come and write book and improve on your civilization. And you say African contributed nothing. In fact, you said it was alien that built Africa. So the artifacts, the African identity you have in Europe, you have in American museum that alien went building Africa and you went and took it and brought it here. And you built on it. And then you say you carry civilization to Africa. When African gave you civilization and you improve on it to make your civilization that never benefited everybody, and then you say you give civilization to Africans. Take all those artifacts. Why are you refusing to carry African artifacts? Because you are still learning. You are still researching. You are still teaching your children. You are still writing books about them. You are still empowering yourself through African identity. And you say, we have contributed nothing to civilization. How can we be friends with such people? How can we collaborate with such people? We can't. And that we have come to realize. Because we have failed to put you to your place. That's why you continue to do what you are still doing, because you think we are dumb and stupid. Let's continue here. We're building up. We will get to Niger. We are building up. We are building up. Okay? Be with me. We are building.
Of course,
Okay, so this is another video. Okay, this man is telling us the issues in Africa was caused by America, the CIA, the FBI. Okay, the issue in Africa was caused by Joe Biden. Joe Biden, who sat down there and said, Niger demo. He said it was caused by them. We are building here. Before we get to the Niger, we want you to understand something. I know it's long, but we don't just want to get to the topic. You may not understand. You will still have the understanding of the Western narrative. But we are getting there. Oh, okay.
often called the most dreadful foreign policy decision in modern times, an absolutely unprovoked war, killed hundreds of thousands, displaced millions, created disaster, blowback, and refugees. Where was Europe's foreign policy? I kept looking. Is there a foreign policy? I even took out my microscope. I couldn't even find a microscopic foreign policy because there's no foreign policy to speak of. So the idea that the only policy is to debate should we accept refugees or not is not right. The real policy is stop the wars that are producing them. Where did the refugees come from? I don't mean did they come from Syria or Afghanistan, that we know. But why did they come? They came because of war. Where did the war come from? From my country. From the CIA, which first started to overthrow the Afghan government back in 1979.
So, that was one aspect of the video. Now, understand what is going on in Africa, okay? Once you see America and Europe going against what is happening, it means it is in the interest of America. Now, did America ever speak to say, let you free Alpha Coney in Guinea? Did America ever come out to speak? No, because it was a coup that was perpetrated by America. Now, the way in which mainstream media are narrating the issue in Niger, they did narrate the issue in Mali when there was coup. Let us learn something here. Let's continue to the next video. Now we know what the CIA have been doing, right? In Africa, in other parts of the world. We know what America have been doing. He said it. Those refugees are caused by America. Those hardships are caused by America. Those conditions are caused by America. Now, I'm bringing this video. We are getting there a little bit, okay? This is what freedom means. And this is what is coming back. And this is who we are today. This is who we are today. And what you're going to see in this video is what exactly describes America and Europe. They don't want freedom for Africa. Freedom for Africa means threats. It means war to them. So let me just read here before we go to the video. It says, my generation does not understand this, How can Africa, which has so much wealth, become the poorest continent in the world? How can Niger, the seventh largest producer of uranium in the world, become the second poorest country in the world? How can Niger, the seventh largest producer of uranium in the world, that threw at uranium and gave 24/7 current to France and to most of Europe, but yet it is a nation that is suffering from electricity? Is that not a colonial attitude of the colonizer? And then when we speak, they say our forefather did it, we did not do it. Your forefather did it, you did not do it, but you are carrying on the agenda, the memo that was created by your parent, who are still exploiting Niger today. When the entire France never go out of current, but in Niger, the citizens are lack of electricity. They had to put charcoal together to cook their new meal for the date. But you have 24/7 electricity that is powered by the uranium. And then when they ask to be free, and then you say they are savage. How? We ask that question. How can Niger, the seventh largest producer of iron, or let's say uranium, become the poorest, the second, if I don't want to say the second, the poorest country in the world? How? And not only uranium. How? So we ask you, America, what is a democracy? Is that a democracy? How? We ask you.
Is there something you could tell the court? You have been found guilty on all charges. Is there something you could tell the court before pronouncement of your sentence?
All we want is freedom. That's all we want. Freedom. Freedom for children to learn. Freedom for men to work. For mothers to love. For a nation to grow. That's all we want. Equality. For everyone. You see, I am just one of many. A foot soldier. There will be many, many more to follow. So, there is no court of law, no police force, no army that will stop the tide of revolution from turning. There is no punishment that you can lay out in this court. No law, no government can pass that will kill the will of the people. Because we will fight. We will continue to fight until all our people are free. And maybe we can even free you from yourselves. So you can hate us, degrade us, torture us, and kill us. But we will fight. And we will be free. One day, we will be free. Amanda! Amanda!
Where to? Solomon Kalushi Mashango. You are hereby sentenced to death. You will be taken to Pretoria Central Prison on a date to be set, and you will be hanged by your neck until you die.
Now, I ask a question, and let me ask a question right now. What was his crime? What was his crime? If anybody know his crime, tap it in there. Tap it in the chat. What was his crime? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. What was his crime? Why did the white man sentence him to death? Why did white supremacy, the devil, in fact, the devil, it just means one who devalue human's life as a devil. One who devalue human life is the devil. So the devil are the white supremacy. The white supremacists are the devil. What was his crime? His only crime was fighting for freedom. His only crime was to see these people free from the white devil. One who devalue human's life is a devil. That is the definition of a devil. You devalue another person's life, another race, you are a devil. So his crime was to fight for freedom. Have we not seen it? Now you may say that was apartheid, okay. But are we not seeing it today? If a black man wake up to fight for freedom, what is happening with the African People's Socialist Party? That's the devil. The devil went against the African People's Socialist Party. The devil. Because the African People's Socialist Party, it is an entity that is fighting for freedom. So their crime was fighting for freedom. That is their crime. What is the crime of Julian Malema today? Julian Malema's crime in South Africa is to fight for freedom. We have always fight for freedom, and we have always been persecuted for freedom. Nkrumah died because of freedom. He was persecuted. Thomas Sankara died. They persecuted him because of freedom. Pedro Lumumba died. They persecuted him because of freedom. Amilcar Cabral died. They persecuted him because of freedom. Dr. King died. They persecuted him because of freedom. Malcolm X died. They persecuted him because of freedom. What is black people crime? If you really check into history, our crime have always been don't fight for freedom or you will be dead. Don't fight for freedom. They will charge you in a court of America and Europe and you will be dead. That have been our crime. Our only crime have been to fight for freedom. But not to take ammunition against other people. We have never invaded other people. Prophecy. We have never carried any religion to invade other people. Our crime against the devil has always been to fight for freedom. That was what that young man was sentenced to death. because of freedom. And he spoke, he said, no court can persecute us. We will come back. What they fail to realize is we reincarnate. We don't die, we come back. He said, no court, no police. After saying that we are fearless, no court, no police can ever stop us. We will be free. We don't care what a puppet government. We don't care what a bourgeoisie. In fact, there have always been bourgeoisie, but we have always succeeded and overcome. There have always been puppet government. We have always overcome and succeeded. There have always been a betrayer among us, but we have always overcome and succeed. And we will. Our only crime is to fight for freedom. And one who always go against us is the devil. One who did value human's life and does not value human's life is the devil. We don't have to check in dictionary, in white dictionary, in white supremacy dictionary to define devil. Yes, white supremacy is the devil. You sentence black people, you sentence African people for fighting for freedom. But KKK have survived centuries upon centuries in the America. But KKK have never seen the court. KKK have never seen the court. But you want to carry Judah Malema to court for fighting for freedom, for teaching his people. And he said, in fact, he won a case in court. And then you're going against him because you feel white supremacy, the devil, exists. So they will take Judah Malema. Oh, because you see, the unity of Africa is what these people are afraid of, and we have said time without numbers. Because the last rally, recent rally, not the last, because it will never be the last. But the recent rally, EFF just had the entire stadium was full. So they got afraid. And that's how been the tactics of the devil. They always go for the powerful African. So in their mind, if they can take how they call it, Malema, the EFF would die. You carry the man to court, and he won a court. He won a case. Why can't you go to the court? But you're still running after him. It was said, we will be free. We will not give up. No policing will stop her. No court will stop her. Amanda! Let's continue here. So what you see in Africa is just the beginning. There are more puppet leaders. The moment we understand you are a puppet to America and Europe, you will be removed automatically. We don't care. The moment we see you are not answerable to the African people, but you are answerable to your devil. White supremacy, the devil. The moment we see you are answerable to Europe and America, you will be automatically removed. It's a warning to you people. Automatically you will be removed. The moment you become a puppet in a bourgeoisie, we are done and over in a puppet or in a bourgeoisie. We are done and over. You will be removed. You will be removed. Do you think we want for Europe and America to keep insulting Africans? Don't you think we can sit and live and survive in Africa if you are doing the right thing and putting things in place? The only reason people are coming to Europe and America is because they put things in place when they exploit the African. They put things in place when they exploit the African resources and loot the Africans, African labor. So if we do the same thing on the African continent, we will have no need of coming to Europe and America for insult. Let's continue here. Now, let's see what Dr. King told us. Days were coming. We should expect days like this. And Dr. King told the devil, the white supremacy, they are the devil. Dr. King told them in the message before they kill him. You know, one thing about one thing I understand and I love about our revolutionary, about our forefather. They never died without leaving the meshes. If they die with the meshes being passed on. All it left for us to research and we will find it. They died, even though they killed them before their time, but the meshes was left. Let's see what Dr. King told us. Now you must wonder what does have to do with Niger? It have to do with Niger. Unless you don't understand how the system is being played. I can be in Africa and understand the situation African people in America go through. And you can be in America here and understand the situation African people in South America and Africa go through. Because it is the same system. Once a colonizer will always be the colonizer. Let's see what Dr. King told us.
Tired of marching. I'm tired of marching. Tired of marching for something that should have been mine at birth. I don't mind saying to you tonight. I don't mind saying to you tonight that I'm tired of the tension surrounding our day. I don't mind saying to you tonight that I'm tired of living every day under the threat of death. I have no martyr complex. I want to live as long as anybody in this building tonight. And sometimes I begin to doubt whether I'm going to make it through. I must confess I'm tired. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Now, that was Dr. King's message to us. And I'm going to relate. Don't worry. This is WCC. This is the Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series. We understand what we bring to you. Now, Dr. King said, at first, he was marching. He was begging a colonizer for freedom. He was sitting on the same table with the colonizer, drinking tea, eating, breaking bread together. He said at first he was angry at those. He was angry with Malcolm X because we know they call Malcolm X an extremist. Dr. King said he was angry with Malcolm X at first. He said, Malcolm X, I don't like the approach you are taking. So Dr. King said he was sitting on the table. He was mobilizing his men, the Africans, to march peacefully, to ask the colonizer, the oppressor, for freedom. He said he was doing that. He said he begged the colonizer for job so that the colonizer could give jobs to his people. He said he was doing that. He said, I beg the colonizer to bring some developmental agenda to our community. He said he did that. He said he told the colonizer the only way we will be free is to listen to the colonizer, the oppressor. Listen to them, ask them, like give them time. Maybe they will understand. Dr. King said he tried to make them to understand. But they listen not. To you so-called leader of today, leader. Pay attention. That is what I said. You so-called African leader, do not come to the UN summit. Dr. King said, it came up time he realized, he said to march was useless. It was never fruitful to march. He said if he has known he was going to listen to Malcolm X to make foes with Malcolm X. That's why he said, I marched, but that did not work. And now I've seen it. I've come to understand. I've come to realize that these people, they are chaos. They are devil. They are demon. They are the enemies. You know, the more and more you beg someone who inflicts wound on your body, the more you beg him, the more he loves it because he feels superior. Love superiority. He feel it because you are backing him. The more you back him, the more he inflict pain on you because he feel that he is superior and you are inferior. So the more you back him, the more he put more pain. The more he inflict pain. And that's why Dr. King said he came to realize it. And that's why he said, I've seen it. Now I am over the mountaintop as well. I've seen it. I'm no longer marching. I'm no longer telling my people to go to the church to pray for their enemies. Dr. King said he was no longer doing that. And he said, it is now that I am about to sacrifice my life. But I know they're going to kill me. That is why he said, I may not get there with you. Because he knew they would kill him. Because that have been the crime of a black man. You saw it in the video. Dr. King knew that have been the crime of African to fight for freedom. They persecute you in their courts. They kill you, they hate you, they lynch you, they kill you, they rape you. That have been our crime from time to time to fight for freedom. He knew they would kill him. That's why he said, I will not get there with you. I may not get there with you. But we will be free. But now I am not marching. I am not baking bread. I am not drinking tea on the same table. I'd rather drink tea on the same table with you, but not with them. I'd rather drink bread, bake bread on the same table with you, but not with them. So Dr. King have told us, so you useless equa, everything you can survive without Washington, D.C. You are in a land that Dr. King spoke about. Everything you can make decision, like Malcolm X, then you are a puppet, you are useless. You are useless. Malcolm X told us, he said, who told you to hate yourself? Who told you you are not smart? Who told you the oppressor had to direct your path? Who told you? And that is why exactly this useless ECWA led this time. I'm not saying the whole ECWA, but I'm saying this particular ECWA that is being spearheaded by Tinubu is useless. This particular ECWA that is being spearheaded by Tinubu is useless. We know AU have been useless from aid funding led by Musa Fakao today. AU have been useless from 1963. But I'm saying this time, in fact, ECWA have been useless because it was the same ECWA that sat down there, okay, and saw American male weapons proliferating in Liberia to kill Liberia. ECWA have been useless. How can you sit down on the African continent and you allow foreign weapons to proliferate on the African continent to kill Africans? And you say you are there to protect African-led useless organization. Oh yes, we are just getting to know again because it has been led this time again by another failed African leader called Tinubu. Why he needs to be setting home, looking after a grandchildren, because he needs DAPO. His DAPO needs to be changed. How can a president in Africa, DAPO, he cannot wear his own trouser, but he have people who will come and change his diaper? How can an African leader be of that kind? An African leader that his diaper has to be changed. An African leader that he have to be reminded to take his medication. An African leader that he have to be reminded to eat. How many pages? Tinubu, how many pages of paper Tinubu going to read? He's going to fall asleep. And at the end, they're going to hold his hand to put X, meaning he's signing. Tinubu, an African leader. How can he make a sound decision when part of his medulla oblongata is not functioning right? Oh yes, when you aging, your thought also age with you. It becomes weaker. It takes time to process. This thing is like a computer. It takes time to process. It takes time to remember. But those are the kind of leader Europe and America will say it is good for Africa. That's what Dr. came to us as well. Because he told us, some of you African leaders, the approach you are making, he said, Dr. King said he took that same approach. But once a colonizer is a colonizer, they will never listen to you. Once an enslaver, they will never listen to you. Dr. King said he took that same approach and it did not work. Why did they kill Marco Garvey? Why did they imprison him? Because of the approach he had for freedom. They put him in jail. They persecuted him. They put false crime on him because he was fighting for freedom. That has been the history of African people. We have always been persecuted when we speak. When we fight for freedom, that has been our crime. African people have never committed any worse crime that white people have committed on the face of the planet. Our crime have always been to fight for freedom. Our crime have always been asking the white men to stop killing other people. Our crime have always been asking the white men to stop oppressing other people. Our crime have always been asking the white men to stop infiltrating, to stop interfering, to stop mingling other people's affairs. That have always been our crime. And that's how we have always been persecuted. And that's how we have always been killed. And that's how we have always been let go. That was the crime of Robert Mugabe. Look at his story. Then when we turn our back from America, then people say we love Russia and hate America. We don't. If we were going to hate America, then by now we hate America since the enslavement time. after African people became free. Then we hate you by that time. Then we hate Europe by that time. But just because we are saying we are tired with American nonsense, that does not mean we hate America. Just because we are saying we are tired with Europe nonsense, that does not mean we hate America. We are just saying nonsense. We tired. We're done with you. That is not hate. So when America gained her independence, her so-called independence, when she was never oppressed, when she gained her independence on July 4, 1776 from England, was that a hate? No. That asks this question now. When who America gained independence from? Great Britain, right? When she gained her independence, when she wanted to be free, when she wanted to make decisions on her own without Great Britain mingling into the affair, and when she pronounced herself declared free, was that a hate to Great Britain? We ask the question to those people who have that kind of narrow mindset to say African people hate America and that's why they love Russia. We ask them that kind of question. Did America hate Great Britain when it got their freedom away and it took it from Great Britain? Was that hate? Oh, so only African people. That's what Malcolm X said. Whatsoever the white men do, whatsoever the white supremacists do, it is good. But if black men do that same thing, then it become bad. You fought for freedom, it's good. African people fought for freedom, it become bad. Let's continue. Now, let me see where we are. You know what? Let's go back to Niger. Let's bring some video out. Then we come back again. All right? Let's go to Niger. Let make it fair. Let's bring some video out about Niger. Now, look at this video, folks. This is Niger and these are Nigerians. Look at this video. America, Washington, D.C. and Europe, according to them, how can the military remove a democratic government? According to them, the people love their president. But who are these people? These are not Burkinabes. These are not Malians. These are not Sudanese. These are not Ghanaians or Nigerians or Liberians. These are not Senegalese. These are not Togolese. These are not people from Benin. These are not South Africans or Zimbabwean or Zambian. These are Nigerian. Oh, but America said there were masses of people on the street supporting their president to reinstate their president. But who are these people? Are these now people from Niger? Who are these people? Oh, I thought America said Niger is a democratic institution. What is democracy? As long as it is not working for the people of America, get that in your score. It's not democracy. Just because that president is a puppet to you for your selfish interest is not democracy for us. And we will find every means to remove him. Marco S by any means necessary. Tell me you get it? Dummy. You the Chris. This is democracy. Because the people spoke. This is democracy. Because the people turn out. This is democracy because the people were fed out just because they voted for him. That means you stay in power. No, they voted for him, but he became a puppet. He became, yes, sir. He became obedient to his master. That will remove you. That America should not speak. America, you have no right to speak about African democracy because African people have never had any right to speak about your so-called democracy. So what happened in Africa? Take your dirty mouth from out of it. Sit in America and solve the million issue. You have poverty increasing in America here. Poverty, you have an increase in America. But you take American taxpayer money and send it to Ukraine. You have drugs. The increase of drugs in America is rampant. But you are not fighting to protect your citizens' life. You want to pretend to the world that you are the best. But you take taxpayer money and send it to Taiwan to create war. Sit in America, solve your issue. Leave Africa alone. This is democracy right here. Let's continue here. Let's play it.
Governments. Here is what the minister had to say. Here is your latest Africa news. In a recent development, neighboring countries Mali and Burkina Faso have made a bold statement by vowing to go to war against the US-backed African Union, AU, and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, if they resort to the use of force in an attempt to reinstate the ousted president of Niger. This announcement follows an ultimatum issued by the ECOWAS and AU to the military leaders in Niger, demanding the reinstatement of the deposed leader, or face the prospect of force. Additionally, the United States, through Secretary of State Antony Blinken and the U.S. Ambassador to the UN, has openly supported the deposed leader and called for his immediate reinstatement. Amidst this escalating tension, Burkina Faso and Mali have joined forces with the soldiers in Niger, who themselves recently overthrew their own governments. Here is what the minister had to say.
The transitional governments of Burkina Faso and Mali express their fraternal solidarity and that of the people of Burkina Faso and Mali to the brotherly people of Niger, who have decided to take their destiny into their own hands and assume before history the completeness of their sovereignty. Warn that any military intervention against Niger would simulate a declaration of war against Burkina Faso and Mali. I repeat, warn that any military intervention against Niger would simulate a declaration of war against Burkina Faso and Mali. I repeat for the last time, warn that any military intervention against Niger would simulate a declaration of war against Burkina Faso and Mali.
This declaration underscores the complexities and divisions within the region, where neighboring countries are divided on how to respond to political upheavals in their midst. The escalating tensions and potential for conflict in West Africa have drawn international concern. The involvement of the United States and France in supporting the deposed leader of Niger puts the country at the center of a geopolitical struggle between regional alliances. As the situation unfolds, the risk of further destabilization in the region remains a major concern for Western powers as they try to rein in their trophies. As the situation continues to evolve, it remains imperative for all stakeholders to engage in dialogue and find a peaceful and sustainable solution that will foster stability in the region and achieve real prosperity for the West African civilians trying.
So, America and Europe, this is democracy right there. Okay? These are people from Niger, the citizens that are in support of the military to remove a puppet government that is supported by America and Europe, to remove a puppet government who is in Niger supporting France, supporting Europe and America for them to loot the people uranium, and then while the people die in abject poverty, while people in Europe and America live a good life. And then they turn around and look down on people from Niger. Oh, yes. In fact, when these people see African here, they look down on African. When you say, oh, I'm from Niger, for example, oh, Niger, they had the war, that poverty area. Oh, do you like it in America? You know, those are the kind of questions they ask you. When you say, I'm from Africa. Oh, you from Africa? Do you like it here? They are asking you that question, not because they think, you think they're asking you for a good reason. They are asking you because in their mind, you ran away from poverty. In their mind, you ran away from poverty to come in their country to live a better life. In their mind, you ran away from a nation of terror, from the continent of terror, and you came to the land of freedom. The land of freedom that is terrorizing other nations, other continents. Sometimes I look at them when I receive question like that. My answer to them nowhere is better like home. I don't explain further. This is democracy, America. The people don't want him. He should go. Leave the people alone. Leave Africa alone. This time, the 60 have come back. No more. No more Casablanca and Morovia group. You heard the people in our region. If ECOWAS dare try it, they will not just be fighting Niger. They will be fighting Guinea. They will be fighting Mali. They will be fighting Niger. And not only that, Chad will jump in it. They will be also fighting Chad. If you don't know, try it. Try it. Since when have ECOWAS ever questioned France to say, France, every year you steal 500 billion from African nation and put it into your economy, and then borrow part of that money to African nation? Since when have ECOWAS ever questioned France? Useless organization called ECOWAS. Since when, Tinubu, have you ever questioned France? Stealing 500 billion every year from African nations. Have you ever questioned it? Since when have you ever questioned France that, listen, in Niger is the 7th largest producer of uranium in Africa. But in your country, that particular mineral resources, it is used to empower, to give electricity to Europe. But have you created electricity for the people in Niger? Did you ask those questions? Useless organization called ECOWAS. Useless. Let's continue here. Barack Obama or whosoever you call yourself, Joe Biden, listen. Let me educate you. Your father is talking. Joe Biden, your father is talking. Listen to your father. That so-called democracy you got in America. Do you think we are listening to America when they speak about democracy or when they speak about rule of law? Have you created a rule of law for African people in America here? Have you? Have you created democracy for African people in America? You have never given freedom to African people in America. Are you going to give freedom to African people on the African continent? Nonsense. Listen to your father. The next time you come at Joe Biden to make any statement, you better listen to that video and listen to your father. The next time Congress come out to make any statement about Africa, you better be wise enough. Those days are gone. Those days are gone. Listen to your father. Your father is speaking. You may be older than me, but I'm telling you wisdom. Now, in Africa, when we say your father, that does not mean I gave birth to you. It just means I can educate you. It just means an educator that can put knowledge into your skull. Listen to your father. If you want to make peace with Africa, to get some African resources, listen to your father. Nobody hate America. Nobody hates America. Nobody hates Europe. It is your attitude. America, listen to your father. It is your attitude, your behavior towards African. You have always killed African people through fighting for their freedom. You have always persecuted African people by fighting for their freedom. That is why we are doing what we are doing. Let's continue here. Let's continue here. Let's continue to see another video again of the people in Niger. Let's see again. Let's see. Let's see, because America said, oh, wow. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, democracy. Let's see here. Let's see here. We will educate you people. Nonsense. Now, I don't know if I should play the video. Okay, it's 4 minutes, right? It's 22 minutes. I don't want to waste my time on this. So let's see here. I'm just going to play a short video. So let's see. I mean, it's another great video giving the perspective, all right, of what is happening in Niger versus the influence of America and Europe or the West. But it's 22 minutes. So I don't want to waste my time. We already know what we already know. Okay. So I'm going to bring another short video. But if need be, I might bring that video back, but we may not watch all. So let's just see another one again. I'm not even going to bring article. So let's just see. And then another video here. This is 2 minutes. So watch this. You can watch this. This is 2 minutes. So let me bring this up. Because we're running out of time, I will leave all the long video. Now, America said the people believe in democracy, but these are the people that support. This is Niger, and they support the military takeover. They support the military takeover. Then America come and said and spoke nonsense and say, the people believe in democracy. Yeah, the people democracy. Are you the one to tell? Well, listen. Did you allow Americans to vote for Donald Trump? Did you not say Donald Trump supported citizens to go to the White House? And you use that in your campaign for citizens not to vote for Donald Trump? You have Donald Trump in court today. Okay? For corruption. You have Donald Trump in court for corruption. Oh. But if African leaders do it, because it is in your interest, we should leave them there. Nonsense. Let's continue. So what you see here, this is Niger, and they are saying the French should be out. They are saying the French should be out. They are saying all military bases in Niger should be out. So how can you say democracy? The people don't need you in their country. They are saying enough is enough. So these are the people supporting the military takedown of the government.
We are here to demand the immediate departure of MONUSCO. This MONUSCO recently spoke of zero patriots. We consider this statement a provocation because it means that they have come to drive out all the Congolese in their country and in Africa. This is how we say zero MONUSCO before August 31st, when the last one leaves our country. If they don't leave, we will fight until they leave our country because they are not doing anything.
All right, so this is in Congo, actually. This is Congo, all right, DRC Congo. Now, I thought to bring this video, but at a discussion I wanted to have, but it's already in here. So, like I said, we're going to experience, okay, most of these things happening on the African continent. All right, because we are going back to the 60s. This is true independence. This is true freedom. This is true liberation. So these are citizens on the street. They are saying they don't want Western organization. They should leave. Okay? They should leave. So this is DRC Congo. In fact, there's another video that I have here, but I already brought this. They are saying UN should leave DRC Congo. So this is an issue going worldwide on the African continent. So African leaders should be warned and let them get it. This is not about coming to Europe and America, drinking tea, breaking bread, or coming to the UN giving part of speeches. Like I said, and I'll say it. African leaders, do not come to the UN summit. Maybe one or two should come. That's it. And now one or two African leaders that is coming or that are coming, whatsoever they are coming with, it should be the voice of the African continent. That's what we want. We are looking for unity here. Don't come here as independent nation. Don't come here as independent colonial entity. Do not come. That's a lot of resources you are using to come to a so-called UN summit, a buyer summit that never do anything for Africans. Do not come here. We don't need you here. Use our resources for the people in Africa. Don't come. We don't need you.
First, we demand the departure of MONUSCO because it has failed its mission. We will take care of ourselves. Several women were killed and raped. They did whatever they wanted to us. We want this MONUSCO accomplice to leave our country already. We will also build the monument of our hero Patrice Lumumba, first Prime Minister of DRC.
So you see it, this is a fight going on the African continent. Now, it is not just about African leaders. Now, America and Europe, they understand what is going on. And that is why they are using some puppet government in Africa, okay, who are controlling some of the entity in Africa to go and do things for them, okay, to fight for the interests of Europe and America while they destabilize the African continent. It is very sorrowful. I mean, it's very disheartening, right? At this time, for Africa to still listen to America and Europe for solution. I'm telling you, I don't know. For Africa to still listen to America and Europe for solution, I don't get it. I don't get it. Let's continue here. All right, so let's see another video of Nigerian speaking in support of the army, because America said the people support the government, right? So these are people in Niger. They are saying they don't want military intervention. They don't want France. They don't want American, how do you call it, or drones, American base in our area. Now, in fact, we're going to talk about this a little bit. We're going to spend more time here. We're going to spend maybe 1 or 2 minutes discussing this because there's something I want to bring to your attention here.
What we produce is more.
Resetting France's the region. The former colonial power appears to be losing its influence in the Sahel. That's despite President Emmanuel Macron's election promise to reset ties with the continent. So, what's behind the shift? What role has Macron played? And where do French-Africa relations go from here? We'll get to our guests in just a moment. But first, a report from Felix Nyawara.
Long live Putin and down with France. Some of the chants echoed by thousands of coup supporters marching through the streets of Niger's capital, Niamey. The unrest follows France's suspension of all development and financial aid to Niger, prompting some protesters to storm the French embassy and setting fire to its entrance.
Niger is resilient. We are resilient. If today the national budget has been inflated, tripled, quadrupled quickly, it's because of stealing. What we produce is more than enough for us to survive. So we really call on the armed forces, the security forces, the CNSP, really not to give in to any blackmail.
The people are suffering in this country. Nigerians shouldn't be living like this. The people are coming out to support the coup leaders because they are here to bring balance to the country.
The French government has condemned the coup and warned of retaliation if any of its citizens are harmed. Years of colonial and neo-colonial influence appear to have resulted in a decline in France's influence in West Africa, and some now see Russia as an alternative. China too is competing for influence, funding or lending money for large development projects.
Military laser lights are available for public use. This new military flashlight is basically a light.
In 2017, after winning the French elections, President Emmanuel Macron said he would reset relations with Africa. The colonial past would be replaced by what he called a new vision of balanced partnership.
The reorganization is not meant to be a retreat or disengagement. It will materialize through an Africanization or mutual operation of these big bases.
But recent developments have challenged this approach. Last year, French troops were forced to leave Mali and Burkina Faso when their military rulers opted for a new alliance with Russia in the form of the mercenary Wagner Group. Now, with Niger's coup leaders strongly speaking out against France, it's not clear where that leaves its influence in the region or its fight against armed groups. Felix Nyawara for Inside Story.
Jacques, let's start with you. What's gone wrong for France in Africa? President Macron wanted to transform France's relationship with its former colonies, but has had to rethink his approach after a series of humiliations. To what extent is this about Macron personally, not just about France?
I don't think it's just about Macron. It's probably about France, because don't forget that France's increased involvement in the Sahel region started in January 2013, when President Hollande responded to a call from the Malian authorities to stem the action of jihadist group who were going towards Bamako, and stopped that. And at the time, France's action was welcomed by the population. François Hollande was ecstatic. He said it was the best day in his life. French flags are everywhere. So France was seen there as an army of liberation. But as over the years, the security situation did not improve in spite of the presence of thousands of French troops in Mali, there was disenchantment in the population. And the Army of Liberation started to be seen as an army of occupation. And France's presence in West Africa was, in the Sahel especially, was challenged. France also is the ex-colonial power, so there's strong anti-colonial feeling. Then it spread to Burkina, first Central African Republic, where the Sangaris operation ended in 2016. Then after that, you had Burkina Faso with 2 coups, which led to the departure of the French forces. And now the linchpin of the French organization in the Sahel, Niger, is actually a victim of a coup where anti-French feelings have been expressed, but it's difficult to say how strongly they are shared by the population. It seems we've seen some demonstrations, and once again, we sit behind the influence of security, controlling governments, but it's no longer the case. France's influence, economic and political, in that part of the world has never been as weak, and protests against France's influence are never been as strong. So,
all right, let's bring it on. Do you agree with what Jacques was saying there, that this isn't necessarily about Macron and his personality and the way of doing things? Why is there so much anti-French sentiment in Africa today? I mean, what has changed?
Don't let toxins build up in your body. Try this new Smart Patch instead. It draws out built-up...
Well, by the way, before this lady speak, right, there's a reason I brought this video. Now, he's still a Westerner, the first guy that spoke, all right? You see, he tried to talk about the issues in Niger, but he still want to make it seem that France is still the good guy, okay? But no, France is the bad guy here. I'm glad he talked about colonialism. I'm glad he talked about neo-colonialism. I'm glad he talked about imperialism, right? But let's see the reality here. Now, I'm glad he also said the presence of French army in Niger, right? I'm glad he talked about it. But the issue here is, he's not actually talking about why the people are acting the way they are acting. Okay? Now, this lady and the second lady that will speak, they will try to give some reason as to why the people are acting. He knows very well that France is a colonialist. I mean, Africa is not free. Let us be frank here. I mean, I don't like the war, right? I don't like the war former colonial. I don't like that war. France is still a colonial entity in Africa, to be frank. Where is the 500 billion going every year? Is it going in African economy or the French economy? The uranium, where it is going? It is going in the economy of Niger or France. It is empowering Africans in Niger or French in France. It is providing better life for Africa in Niger, or it is providing better life for French in France. Now, you can define colonialism. You can define a colonate. Okay? That is a colonate exactly I just defined for you. Your resources is not going to benefit you and your people, but it is going to benefit the people that control you. Simple as that. Your interest will never support your people. Your interest will have to support the people that control you. That is colonialism right there. That is the colony right there. No former. France is not a former. That is a colony right there. You have no right to your country, but the people that control you have the right to your country. Simple definition of a colony. If that is the case, France is not a formal colony. Let's continue here.
you know, France is one, as it has been said, it's is one of the let's say the most powerful partner, more historical partner, well known by this area. So I think that now it's no more a question of being a former colonialist power. It's finished this period. I think we enter into a globalization period. That means that, first of all, we have more competitors that are more aggressive, that are more easy to deal with, let's say. And also, we didn't adapt as French or European country, or even the American, they didn't adapt their approach to the continent, because also we have new generation, we have new needs, new, let's say, demand from partnership. And main point is the fact that now the population, they ask for sharing the wealth and the resources that they have on their own soil. So, and mainly what is always said, and you can hear that at.
Now, I'm going to skip her to the next lady. But before I skip her, right, what she said, I don't know if you got it, right? Now, she herself, she dodged the question. She don't want to explain why Africans are behaving, but she said, this is a new generation. Now, what she's trying to say here is, Europe and America should understand, this is a new generation. Okay? Their demand, their needs are different from the past. That's what she said. Their demands are different. Their needs are different. This is a different generation. It is not a generation that America or Europe controlled yesterday. It is a different generation. And she also said the population have increased. Now, this is why Joe Biden and Europe are against the increase of African population. They want to fight to depopulate the African continent. That's what they said in their meeting. Joe Biden said, you know, Africa is almost billion plus. So they don't like it. And that's what she's saying here. There is new demand. That is why you're seeing these things going on. There is a new generation. That is why you see these things going on. So the generation America and Europe controlled yesterday, it is not a generation today. We should also know that this generation, they are educated now. This generation, they know the wrong that have been perpetuated. This generation, they know what is good for them. This generation, they know now that the resources that is power in Europe and America, it is from their continent. They know that America and Europe have insulted them for so long, have oppressed them for so long, have persecuted them for so long, for each time they try to speak up for peace, for freedom. There's a new generation. But you don't want to say the wickedness America and Europe have done to Africans. But we will remind them the wickedness America and Europe have done to Africans. So I'm going to skip her. Let's get to the next lady, because we got to skip this video. We got to keep going now. So let's get to the next lady and hear her perspective. So look, you see, all the way they are, right? They know the story, but they still narrate it to preserve the whiteness. Devil. One who devalue human being is a devil. As long as you devalue another human being, another life, you are a devil. Yes, they are devil. Let's check the next one. Let's go to the next lady.
Any coup or any demonstration in the discourse of the.
To what extent has France and its Africa policies become irrelevant on the continent?
Mambo yalikuwa. I think what we're actually looking at here is less backlash against France and more actually looking at what has happened in post-colonial Africa. And this doesn't just include the Sahel, but it includes the entire region. And really the promises that, or the expectations that we had of post-colonial Africa was.
Now, this second journalist, she's very smart. In fact, she is saying, in fact, we are looking at less backlash against France. But the reality here is that people are reacting because of colonialism and neo-colonialism. So if we are to look at the actual story, we are even giving justice to France. We are even in fact, let us speak.
To have greater democratic societies, more freedom, more prosperous economies, helped by aid from the West. And that has not really happened. And of course, we've seen this take hold in the Sahel, and it's been against France because France is really one of the biggest actors there. But I don't see this as particular anti-French sentiment. I think that we can see this democratic backsliding happening in many other countries across the region because France is the biggest player there. It's the one that will get the most attention and the most focus. But for me, what is the most concerning about the events that have taken place and all of the coups that we have seen for the past 3 years is really that these are not actually popular uprisings. We don't actually know what these populations want. A lot of cases have actually been military coups. So what this means is that we're not actually looking for a particularly better future. We're not necessarily looking to say, okay, we don't want France, but we want someone else. We're effectively just seeing small groups of people saying that, well, we feel that we should actually be in power now, and it's our turn to take it forward. And whatever socioeconomic difficulties we're having, we're going to be the ones to solve them. But the thing is, these problems are varied and they're great, and there's not just one actor that's responsible for them. I think, of course, some of the backlash against France is warranted because we can say that from the colonial period, there were not good political systems set up and handed over. But these bad practices have effectively been entrenched by leadership in post-colonial Africa. These problems have gotten worse. And what that means is that we're just going to see more instability.
Marisa, I wanted to ask you if French policy perhaps concentrated too much on helping governments and not people. Some of them dictatorships. I mean, does that explain at least the public resentment towards France?
Potentially, but I think that if you kind of look at post-colonial discourse in Africa, it has really focused on what happened in the colonial period and what colonial actors did. It focuses less on what leaders in the post-colonies have done. And certainly these leaders have entrenched these bad practices, but we can also argue that it's not necessarily France that has just supported some less democratic regimes, but also Africa has been the recipient of a lot of aid, and this, you could also argue, has effectively helped some of these leaders to stay in place and taken the responsibility and the burden off them of developing their own countries and not really held them to account. So, you know, it's a very complex argument, but I think it's one that is definitely worth having.
Jacques, to what extent has France become the scapegoat for many of Africa's problems?
Yeah, I think that's the right word. France has is the scapegoat for.
All right, we listen to the girl. That's it. So the guy, we don't really have time. France is not a scapegoat here. I mean, African people fighting for their freedom. Listen to what the girl said. This is an underlying factors. France has not been a scapegoat issue here. So if we say France is a scapegoat, right? $500 billion every year. You call that scapegoat? Every year, France collect $500 billion every year in taxes from 14 African nations, and you call that a scapegoat? Look at what happened in Niger. The 7th largest producer of uranium in the world is the nation that is giving power electrical supply to France. But look at the nation, poverty, no job. But the jobs are being created in France. Electricity 24/7. While the people do not have electricity, and you call that scapegoat? Now, The people did not refuse France. France military are in all those 14 African, how they call it, Francophone nation. But tolerance is terrorizing the people, and you call that a scapegoat? Come on, man. That people be real here. Let's see another story here. There's a story I have here, but I don't know why I'm not seeing it. There's a video I have here. I don't want to bring article. We don't have time for articles, so I'm not really going to bring article right now. I'm just going to show video. Yeah, I'm not going to show article right now. Because we're running out of time. I just want to make sure and bring, let me bring this video here. There's a video I want to show. Okay, let's show this right here. At least let balance the equation here. So this is a how they call it, Western media, right? Mainstream media, democracy now. So let's balance this equation here.
Stabilize the entire region, which has faced a spike in attacks from Islamic militants. A Burkina Faso government spokesperson made the announcement Monday.
We warn that any military intervention against Niger is tantamount to a declaration of war against Burkina Faso and Mali. We warn that any military intervention against Niger would entail a withdrawal of Burkina Faso and Mali from ECOWAS, as well as the adoption of self-defense measures in support of the armed forces and the people of Niger.
Niger is a former French colony which gained its independence in 1960. Over the weekend, Niger's new rulers accused France of plotting to intervene militarily. Niger is a major supplier of uranium to France and the European Union. France is planning to start evacuating French and European Union residents today. On Sunday, thousands of supporters of the new junta attempted to storm the French embassy in the capital, Niamey. Niger has also been a close ally to the United States. The U.S. has approximately 1,000 troops in Niger. Following the coup, the troops have been restricted to a U.S. military base in the northern city Agadez, where the U.S. spent over $100 million building a drone base. The Biden administration has so far refused to describe last week's event as a coup because doing so would force Washington to cut security aid to Niger. The Intercept reported last week that one of the leaders of last week's coup, Brigadier General Moussa Salou Barmou, who had been trained by the U.S. military at Fort Benning in Georgia. According to The Intercept, U.S.-trained military officers have taken part in 11 coups in West Africa since 2008, including.
Now, do you see the same hands have come back to bite America? Do you see why African people are behaving to America the way they are behaving? This man, America trained this man to go on the African continent to be committing coup. America trained this man to be committing coup on the African continent. America trained this man to work for American interests, to take down any government in Africa. That's why you can be a Democratic elected government. As long as you are not a puppet to America, America trained this man to go and remove that government. And this man have done that 11 times on the African continent for America. So, why should America get mad if this man have worked for you 11 times in the past to remove democratic elected government that is not a puppet to America. This man have worked for you. So why should you hate this man? Why should you hate this man if this man go and remove a government that is not in the interest of the people? Oh, so you only train people to remove government that is against American selfish, devilish policy. You train this man. Now this man has removed a government in his own country that is a puppet. So you see, let's say this. Let me go to this man again. Now you see what you did in Africa, in African nations have come back to haunt you. You win, you idiots, You went and start removing African government. You went and start killing your own African people. Your own African government, stupid are you. You went and start killing them, removing them because of America. Now, judgment day come to you. Judgment day came to your own country. So you see how bad it is to have a government that is a puppet government, not in the interest of your people. Now you see how bad it is. Now you see, you have experienced it, that your own government was a puppet to Europe and America that did not care for your people while your people suffer. It was the same way. Government that you kill in the interest of America and Europe, they were never in the interest of Europe and America. They were in the interest of their people, but America sent you to go and kill those people and remove them from power, and you went and did it. Now you have a government that did not care for your own people, but care for America. Why did you remove him? Because you remove people that care for America, that never care for their people. You remove them. So why did you remove this man that care for America but never care for his people? People that care for their people and never care for America, you remove them. So why should you remove this man that care for America and Europe? Why did you remove them? Or why did you remove him? So now you see what you did in the past have come to haunt you. Now you experience it, that an African government should absolutely be on the side of their people. Now you see, you remove leaders that was fighting for Africa and African people. You kill them, you remove them because of America's selfish foreign policy. So now you see what happened to you. Why did you remove this man? Why couldn't you leave him there? Because he was working for America. Oh, so you see, this is why the colonizer won. We should remain divided. We should remain divided. This is why the unity of Africa is so complex. Well, let's continue here. Let's just go to Africans. If you are being trained by American Marines, American Army, American FBI, or American CIA to go against your own people, and you go against your own people, may judgment day judge you. May you die. May you die.
In Burkina Faso and Mali. In Moscow, the Kremlin has described the situation in Niger as a, quote, cause for serious concern. But the head of the Russian mercenary group, Wagner, has reportedly welcomed the coup. Wagner's leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, has been quoted saying, "What happened in Niger is nothing other than the struggle of the people of Niger with their colonizers," unquote. To talk more about the crisis in Niger, we're joined by Stephanie.
Of the Presidential Guard, so the President Mohamed Bazoum's own guard, detained the president And the spokesman for what they're calling the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland, this is the name for the junta, declared that the Nigerian president was overthrown on national television, and that General Chiani, who oversees the Presidential Guard, declared he was leading a transitional government. So the exact reasons for the coup are actually still unclear. Chiani, he talked about the need to stop the country's demise, and he was referring to a lot of the attacks and the insecurity and the conflict to its border areas. It's been known to be a kind of bastion of stability and resilience in a region that's just been spiraling into chaos. So it is.
Look at Niger. This is Niger. This is Africa. A nation that is the 7th on a chart, on a list of uranium in the world, that is making Europe rich, providing them job, that have improved their economy, okay? Their road system, I mean, you name it. But look at the nation that is number 7 in the world. Look at the country. Look at our spot. Look at the people. Look at the country. Look at how dusty it is. And look at how clean Qatar, France, or Europe is. So how can first of all, they want to say the Wagner group came out to speak this. I mean, anybody can speak. Do not put it on a Wagner group. You have U.S. military. In fact, first of all, let me make this clear. In a video, you say, this is not a Wagner group. You say, in Niger, America used over millions of dollars to build a drone base in Niger. How can you use over millions of dollars to build drone base? Okay, weapon, deadliest weapon in Niger with sophisticated U.S. Marine, or in fact, those people are not Marine, they are private army. Those people are U.S. private army, like the Blackwater, but their name have been changed to someone else. They call it PMC, and then they call them or the Academy. Okay, but yet then they still wear the American uniform. But you will see them as veteran or as American, but they are private army that have been paid by taxpayer money. So they use taxpayer money to go into Africa, in Niger, okay, and build a drone base worth over 100 million United States dollars with taxpayer money. But then, look at it. Look at the sad part. They never talk about this. If it was Russia, if it was the Wagner group that took not even their own money to build drone worth of millions of dollars in Africa, Joe Biden would have been talking about it. CNN, BBC, ABC, CCC, DDD, they would talk about it. Oh, Wagner group is building chemical weapons on the African continent. It's going to be a threat to the war. But look at this. You build drone on the African continent worth millions of dollars in Niger. Why did you build drone when you have terrorists, Boko Haram, proliferating all around? So why did you build this drone in Africa? I thought you built it in Africa to help fight against terrorists. You had this first. You spend millions of dollars to build a drone in Niger, but yet then you cannot win terrorists. Come on, shame on America. Shame on America. You spend millions of dollars to build drone in Niger, and you cannot fight the terrorists. Come on, man. Come, folks, let's be real here. You spend millions of dollars. You build a drum. And you have over thousands American army in Niger. You cannot defeat terrorists or Boko Haram. And not only thousands American army, you also have Canadian army based in Niger. You have French army based in Niger. Yes. You have German army based in Niger. All these foreign military in Niger. So why terrorists in those areas, in that part of Africa? Let us be real here and start thinking. But let me take that video off. I just asking question. But why should America use millions of dollars to build drone? First of all, we should be asking the question, why? Why America did not use that millions of dollars to build a drone in America here? Why would America build drone worth millions of dollars? So America control Niger now. So America is the president. Joe Biden is the president for Niger. That's what exactly it means. That is why Africa is not free. Africa is still a continent colony. Hey, can any let make this? Can any nation outside of America come in America and build a military drone and build a military base? Africa, 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 Africa. Absolutely. There was no government, and there is no government in Niger. Joe Biden is the president in Niger. Justin Trudeau is the prime minister in Niger. The prime minister for Germany is the prime minister in Niger. Macron is the president in Niger. All of them have military bases. They are the president and the prime minister in Niger. Africa, Africa, Africa. You allow America to build military drone worth millions of dollars in Niger. Do you think these people are going to leave? That is why they're sending ECOWAS to go create war. You don't understand. Africa. Do you think America want to see her $1 million go for nothing? To go withdraw their troops to come back to America? Do you think so? Africa, Africa. Let me take that. Let's continue. Let's continue. Let's continue here. I don't understand what kind of leader we have. So now America sent ECOWAS to go fight for America in Niger. Because if you are carrying military, useless organization like ECOWAS to go fight, who are you going to fight in Niger? Who? The citizens? Because the citizens are all on the street demonstrating for France to leave, for foreign military to leave. And then, instead of it supporting them, America come and tell you, France come and tell you, hey, ECOWAS, this is what we pay you. Now it is your time to work for us. That's why we gave you crumbs. Now go and work for us. You better go to Niger and carry army there and go fight those people. Look, African leaders, some of you African leaders, stop it. Stop it and become leader. Stop it and become leader. You know what? Let me play this last video and we actually go for the day. We've been here for long. Let me play the last video and we call it for the day. Because I can sit down here and speak for the entire time we're going to sit here. And I will keep spitting. Yeah, I don't want to hold you. So let me see if I can play a lot. You know, I want to make it 2 videos. Anyway, let play the last one and we call it for a day. Yeah, I can't give you all, but at least now you understand what's going on. Yeah, I can sit there for another 4 or 5 hours. We will talk. So let me play the last video and we call it for the day.
But no. Niger saw a coup last week, and it seems like a critical moment as anti-France and anti-imperialist movements in the country and the region have welcomed this development. But will France and its allies try to intervene? The land of the free and the home of the brave recently welcomed a descendant of Italy's fascists. What is the emerging political dynamic between the government of Joe Biden and Giorgia Meloni? We'll be taking a look at these stories in today's episode of Daily Debrief. But before we start, do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Niger's military junta, which took power in a coup last week, has warned that France is seeking to militarily intervene in the country. France has apparently gotten authorization from the foreign minister of the deposed government, the junta claimed on Monday. Now, the situation in the West African country remains in a flux as the junta, which is called the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland, has consolidated its hold. Its takeover also seems quite popular. Thousands gathered in the capital on Sunday, many of whom raised slogans against France. A section even attacked the French embassy. For those following the region, this anti-French sentiment is nothing surprising. We go to Kambale Musawali for the details. Kambale, thank you so much for joining us. Quite dramatic developments over the past few days. On Sunday, we saw there are huge thousands mobilizing in the capital of Niger, raising anti-France slogans. In fact, I believe there was also an attack on the French embassy. And I think the developments in Niger seem to kind of mirror what has been happening in many other parts of the region as well. So could you take us through, first of all, what's from the reports you have been getting, what's happening in the country right now, specifically the positions the military junta is taking, and what has been the kind of response?
All of us were surprised to hear, but I wouldn't say all fully surprised for the region, but surprised for Niger, that there was a coup on July 26. The Presidential Guard detained the president of Niger, Bazoum. He was declared the winner of the election in 2021, and he's been leading the country since. There have been tensions that we could get into it as we discussed. The coup leader who rose from that coup is General Abdurrahman Chani, and he decided to close the border. So right after the coup was done to the country on the first day, there were a few people supporters of the president, Bazoum. They came out to ask for him to be released. They were dispersed. There were a really small number of people, usually they were mostly party members of his party, which is a Parti Nigérien pour la démocratie and le socialisme.
Now, the party member he's talking about, right? The party member he's talking about, those people were a few handful of people, and those are the people that mainstream American media reported on and says, oh, these people have democratic government, and then in fact the people were in support of their government. Mainstream media, their narrative, the people were in support of their government. In fact, they were going to the army to tell the army to free their president, their democratic elected president. Nonsense. But why can't they show the camera to the crowd on the street supporting the military? So that's the people he's talking about, the few handful of people that were on the street.
But after that, people in vast majority evacuated to their daily tasks, daily routine. But on July 30th, thousands came out in the streets in support of the coup. Few things that were noticeable in this rally. People were clearly saying France must leave. no France dégage. There were a few people who were carrying the Russian flag, which was quite interesting. And we've seen that across Africa. In a few countries when there are these rallies, what does that actually mean? That people are expressing the need of a multipolar world by seeing Russia as another pole that Africans can work with. So that's at least the expression of the sentiment of the Nigerian people. But last, there was a protest in front of the French embassy. They destroyed, I guess, glasses and the facade of the building. The second in command of the army came out, Salifu Modi. He came out to speak to the population, to tell them that they could go back. There is no need to destroy that. But clearly, the sentiment of the people, as they look at the coup, beyond what the coup leaders have said, is that it's an expression of a position where Niger is breaking ties with France. That they are joining this new non-alignment movement on the African continent, especially in West Africa, where countries colonized by France are breaking their ties. In the case of Mali, where now French is no longer the official language in the country, and French army was kicked out. In same thing in Burkina Faso, the French were asked to leave the country, and as they left, surprisingly, the French soldiers ended up in Niger. And now we have over 1,500, according to the French, military personnel in Niger. It's now to see what is going to happen to them, but it's predictable that they will be asked to leave, and that Niger will try to take a posture that is non-aligned to France.
Right. Kambane, interestingly, the responses have been quite predictable. You have the ECOWAS, the body of West African countries, being very strong in its condemnation. The European Union has sided with the ECOWAS. France and the US also have pretty much, endorsed that stance. There has been even some talk of military intervention if necessary. So how do you see these responses, and how credible are these, for lack of better words, threats?
I think on the part of France, follow very closely the statement that came out from Emmanuel Macron. He's clearly stating that France will do everything in their power to protect the citizen and French interests. And we know what is French interest in Niger. French interest in Niger is directly Areva, the French mining company that's extracting uranium. France needs the uranium of the Sahel, needs the uranium of Niger to light up the bulb, the light bulb in the country. The electricity of France is run by uranium from the region. So I'm really worried about the position of France based on the internal issues inside of Niger. But the other one that's quite interesting, right, and leaving us a bit perplexed, is the position of ECOWAS, the regional body in West Africa. ECOWAS has given the coup leaders 7 days to bring back Bazoum, bring back constitutional order, so-called democracy. And they say that they will not tolerate another coup. I think ECOWAS leaders are not in tune with what is happening in the region. We had Mali, we had Burkina Faso, we had Guinea, and there will be more coups in the region happening. And this is an expression, particularly in the Francophone Africa, of African people saying that they refuse to be under the tutelage of Western power. They refuse to be under the tutelage of France. They do not want France to control their currency. They do not want France to control their mineral resources. And this has been ongoing for over a decade, where progressive organizations and people have mobilized the people of Africa, particularly in West Africa, around French imperialism in the region. And people today, from the young child, 4 or 5 year old, to the adults in the 80s, they are clear and they are all saying the same word. You go to Senegal, you hear France dégage. You go to Mali, you hear France dégage. You go to Burkina Faso, same thing. And then you end up in Niger, people are also saying France dégage. That simply means France must leave the region, but more importantly, France must leave the African continent because they are exploiting our resources, they are controlling currencies of some of the Francophone African countries, and Africans are not benefiting. So when ECOWAS leaders are saying that they're giving the coup leaders 7 days, they're not in tune with the aspirations of African people. They're not in tune with the aspiration of Nigerian people. The Nigerian people in the street demonstrated what they want. They carried the Russian flag. They say France dégage. Is ECOWAS saying France dégage? Is ECOWAS saying France must leave the region? If they are not saying that, they're not in tune with that. The second one that they are not in tune is the level of corruption that has been unfolding in the region. You know, people may say that there was the first peaceful transfer of power in 2021. That's what the Western media is saying that happened in 2021. When you speak to everyone in Niger who's following the situation in the country, they will let you know that the election was rigged, that opposition leaders were sidelined, that the new president, which is Mohamed Bazoum, was the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, handpicked by the former president of Niger. So people already have seen him a lack of leadership first, but also it does not have the aspiration of the people. There have been other issues such as Bazoum's criticism to the military, where he said to the military they're not adequate to bring down the jihadists in the region, right? So if the president of the country does not have confidence in the military, what would you expect the military to do? So this coup is an expression of that. But my worry with ECOWAS is that each ECOWAS countries should look into what is happening in their in their own countries. You know, we have challenges in Togo, we have challenges in Ghana, we have challenges in Nigeria. A military intervention for ECOWAS is going to be a disaster because the people of Niger are in support of the decisions of the coup plotters. And some of the decisions they've made was to tackle corruption, to actually start going after the ministers and anyone who was in the government who embezzled money. So these populist actions directly from the population is something that the population is in support. ECOWAS should not follow the position of the United States or France. ECOWAS should listen to the people of Niger for a resolution to the crisis.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kambale, for explaining that. And I think pointing out a very central fact that this is not a process in one country. This is a process across the region. And I think a lot of our analysis and coverage that we read often completely misses that point and, just puts it in very simplistic terms. So thank you so much for explaining that. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has been in the thick of controversy ever since.
All right, so that is another clear, message to America. Yes, to America. The reason why there's a coup in Niger. Okay, so American narrative is not African people narrative. Just because a white man, a white supremacist, went and said it, Africans are not going to agree. Joe Biden is a white supremacist.
Of the citizens of Niger.
We have to be allowed to do what we want, to appoint the president we need. Outsiders must not impose people upon us to manage us. That's the end of it.
As citizens of Niger, were against the French military bases, the American bases, the Canadian and the Italian bases. All those foreign bases that are in Niger, we don't need them.
Our armed forces must not give in to any blackmail. Niger is resilient. We are resilient. What we produce, our GDP, is more than enough for us to survive. We call on the armed forces, the security forces, to resist those attempts to blackmail us.
It's interesting. When it comes to the conflict in Ukraine, Macron makes it all about the interests of Ukrainians. But when unrest breaks out in Niger, it's all about French interests. It wasn't that long ago that Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni was undressing France on the world stage and exposing its colonial interests in all their glory.
This is a child who works in a gold mine in Burkina Faso. It's one of the poorest nations in the world. France prints colonial money for Burkina Faso, which has gold. In return, they demanded 50% of everything Burkina Faso exports ends up in the coffers of the French treasury. The gold that this child goes down a tunnel to extract mostly ends up in the coffers of the French state. So the solution is not to take the Africans and bring them to Europe. The solution is to free Africa from certain Europeans who exploit it and allow these people to live off what they have.
In the end, Macron might try to dress up and justify his actions and frustrations as defending democracy in Niger rather than economic neocolonialism. But the reality is that the emperor really is just standing there in his fancy Lacoste boxer shorts by this point.
Well, earlier we discussed this with an activist from South Africa who says that Niger's sudden decision to stop exporting uranium and gold will bring some rather severe consequences to France.
Cancelling and blocking any sales to France of the uranium will not affect them in any way, because after all, they were not benefiting. It will affect France immensely because the existence of France, the French economy's entire existence, depends on exploitation of Africans and African resources. There is no France without Africa. And I am happy that the Francophone, the French-speaking African countries are eventually waking up and demanding their worth and realizing their worth. France is a criminal state that survives on looting and exploiting and stealing and killing of African people in the French-speaking countries all over, in Congo, Burkina Faso, everywhere. Russia has already played a pivotal role in awakening the black people. Russia has worked as a messiah who was sent to Africa to awaken them, to conscientize, because the relationship that African people and the African countries had with the West was that of slavery, was that of master and a slave, was that of colonialism, and it was that of a garden boy and a kitchen cat. Russia then came.
All right, so these are some of the reasons we won the United States military out of Africa, and we won France out of Africa. We won our colonial organization, businesses, money out of Africa. Now, like they said, they will say, African people will suffer. They will not. We've been suffering already. With the presence of American companies, with the presence of European companies, African people are still suffering. What difference will it make if they leave? Yes, the difference will be our resources will stay there. If this generation won't benefit, the next generation will come and benefit from it. Our resources will stay there as we find where to be educated so that we can process it. And by the way, we already know how to process it because we got African in the diaspora, African on the African continent, who can work together to process these mineral resources. So yes, It will be better they leave. With their presence, we are suffering. So when they leave, what difference will it make? The difference is we will be free. We will have control. Period. They should leave. Let's see another short video. I said we got to go, but I thought it was wild that I can't leave this video out. I got to bring them. I think it is the same video, but let's see. If it is the same video, I will just change it and bring the next one.
Well, it might have something to do with a statement that was put out by the French presidential palace, the Élysée, on Sunday that read, quote, anyone attacking French nationals, the army, diplomats, and interests would see France respond immediately and intractably. And by French nationals, they mostly just mean one guy named Mr. Uranium, because Niger is France's top supplier of it, providing 15% of its total supply and a fifth of the European Union's. And the mineral is absolutely critical to power France's nuclear reactors. You see, France's energy independence is ironically very dependent on Niger, which would explain why French President Emmanuel Macron sounded awfully angry about something happening a whole continent away.
Anyone attacking French nationals, the army, diplomats, and rights of way would see France respond immediately and intractably. The President of the Republic will not tolerate any attack against France and its interests.
Yeah, those French interests would certainly include uranium. And now we've been hearing multiple Western press reports that the military junta, now in charge, has cut off exports of both uranium and gold to France. And that comes as really bad timing for Paris, which has become even more reliant on its nuclear power plants after cutting itself off from Russian gas with the rest of the EU to impress Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, in kind of the same way that college party guys work themselves into a frenzy and do dumb things like jump off a roof to impress girls. Germany is already on the verge of deindustrializing because Europe's economic engine can't run on wind and sun. Who knew? Apparently not Berlin. But at least France had not completely bought into Berlin's green fantasies and mothballed all their nuclear power plants, although Macron was certainly heading in that direction. So plan B after the Russian gas cutoff was to power them back up. But now Niger has suspended the export of the uranium that they require with the immediate effect. But hey, no problem though, right? Because France has other suppliers like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, except who largely controls the transport of those to Europe? Russia's nuclear giant Rosatom. Whoops, that doesn't really leave Paris with much wiggle room now that it's in conflict with all of these uranium suppliers. Lost in all these selfish foreign interests, though, is the will of the citizens of Niger.
We have to be allowed to do what we want, to appoint the president we need. Outsiders must not impose people upon us to manage us. That's the end of it.
As citizens of Niger, we're against the French military bases, the American bases, the Canadian and the Italian bases. All those foreign bases that are in Niger, we don't need them.
Our armed forces must not give in to any blackmail. Niger is resilient. We are resilient. What we produce, our GDP, is more than enough for us to survive. We call on the armed forces, the security forces, to resist those attempts to blackmail us.
It's interesting. When it comes to the conflict in Ukraine, Macron makes it all about the interests of Ukrainians. But when unrest breaks out in Niger, it's all about French interests. It wasn't that long ago that Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni was undressing France on the world stage and exposing its colonial interests in all their glory.
France Prince Claude ends up in the countries who exploit it.
And economic neocolonialism. But the reality is that the emperor really is just standing there in his fancy Lacoste boxer.
Okay. So that's another reason. Again, we do not support the imperialists like America, the imperialists like the Europe, the colonizer like America, the colonizer that like Great Britain. That's why we don't support those people. Hold on 1 minute, folks. Yeah, so these are the reasons we don't support those people. We are tired of the colonizer. We are tired with America. We are tired with France. We are tired with Great Britain. We are tired with Europe. They have done us no good. So we are tired. Now, by the way, if you see Africans waving the Russian flag, that is not to say, let's be frank here, let's make things clear here, because Western narrative will say it is the influence of Russia. It is Russia that is telling Africans to do what Africans are doing, not Russia. The reason to why or which you are seeing Africans waving the Russian flag is because of history. It's because of history. It's because it is the same Russia that was there in the 60s to help alongside with Africans to fight American imperialism on the African continent, to fight for independence against America, to fight for independence against the entire Europe in Africa. It was the same Russia. So if people are waving Russian flag, it's not because Russia went and told them to do what they are doing. Period. So no Western media should come and interpret what we are not thinking. Don't think for us. Say what we say. Do not come and think for us. Do not come and say anything for us. If you want to say anything, let it be done by what we say. Period.
Against the insurgents in the wider region. We heard reaction to events on the street.
We came out today to tell the international community that we stand with our army. They must understand this. We will take this to the very end. If they want to help us, we are here, and we will welcome them as friends. But if they want to fight us, we will treat them as enemies.
I would like also to say to European Union, African Union, and ECOWAS, please stay out of our business.
People are suffering in this country. We should not have to live like this. People are coming out to support the military takeover because they are here to bring balance to the country.
This is a historic day in Niger following the coup. We are on this morning of July 30th, 2023, at a place of consultations where there are many men, women, and young people who have come out en masse to this historic location in the capital, Niamey. They are here to support the soldiers gathered at the National Security Council to say no to France and yes to Russia, as well as no to foreign military rule and no to ECOWAS. Those are the messages of the people who have come out here on this day.
Well, earlier, the West African bloc of nations known as ECOWAS threatened military intervention in Niger if the ousted president was not reinstated within a week.
In the event the authorities' demands are not met within 1 week, take all measures necessary to restore constitutional order in the Republic of Niger. Such measures may include the use of force.
West African leaders rejected the military takeover in Niger and ordered the immediate release and reinstatement of President Mohamed Bazoum within 7 days. ECOWAS threatened to use force if coup leaders do not comply, and also announced sanctions, including closing borders with Niger, freezing assets, and travel bans. But while the ECOWAS meeting held in Abuja, thousands of supporters marched in Niger in support of the coup plotters. On Wednesday, soldiers of the Presidential Guards ousted Nigerian President Bazoum and have since held him hostage. The soldiers said the decision was due to the prevailing security and economic challenges in the country. country. Niger has been battling armed militants and local bandits for years. On Friday, the military junta named General Abdurrahman Chiani as the leader of the new Transition Council. Since 2020, West Africa has been seeing military takeovers, including in Guinea, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Timothy Obiezu, RT, Abuja, Nigeria.
Yeah, a situation we're closely following as we are with this. A war of words has erupted in East Asia, with China's defense ministry taking a swipe at Japan for, quote, threatening regional security and stability. It comes shortly after.
All right, folks. That is today's message that we have. Now that you have gotten, maybe not all, but at least in depth of what is happening in Niger, not the Western narrative. You know, first of all, let me ask this question. Since when have Western media ever come out with a true story about Africa or about African people? Never. Never. Even in America here, when African people come out to speak against a system of things they are going through, what the media says, the media call African people savage. Talk. It's the same thing they do to the African continent. They never come out with the true story. Okay? They never. So that is why African unity is very paramount to us. You don't have to be on the African continent, and you don't have to be in America. You don't have to be in South America to understand. Just know that the same way on the African continent that you can use one nation to describe everything going on the African continent that the West are doing, is the same way they are operating in South America. It's the same way they are operating in North America. It's the same way they are operating in Europe. It's the same way they are operating in Australia. It's the same way they are operating in New Guinea, Papua. So don't get it twisted. So that is why you can say, oh, I'm in Africa, I don't have time for those nigger. I have to say this. I don't have time for those nigger in America. Or, you know what? I'm in Africa, I'm in America, I don't have time for those monkeys, okay, in Africa. Or, you know what? I don't have time for people in Haiti. I'm in America. Those people, they are Haitian. I don't have time for them. We will be getting it wrong. Because the same thing people are going through in Haiti is the same thing Black people in America go through, in Africa, in South America, and in other parts of the world. It's the same thing. It is the same. Because it is being played by the same system, by the same people. That is why we have to unite. And that is why, if you don't understand African situation, if you don't understand the subject matter, don't talk about it. And this goes to some people out there, even most of our leaders that represent us. They need to understand the subject. They need to understand what African people are asking for. They need to understand what is affecting African people. They need to listen to African people. They need to. They need to. Just because you are an African leader, that doesn't mean you should apply the technicality of Joe Biden. That doesn't mean you should apply the technicality of Barack Obama. Because if you apply those technicality, you'll be oppressing your people. If you apply what Joe Biden apply, you will oppress your people. Because what Joe Biden apply is oppression. Because it oppresses African people in America here. It was the same Joe Biden that said, if you don't vote for me enough, you are not African. If you don't vote for me, you are not African enough. But since African people voted for him, what have Joe Biden done enough for African people? So if we apply the policy of Joe Biden in your various countries, you will be oppressing your people. If we apply the policy, the American democracy, the kind of democracy America define, if we apply it in your country, you will oppress your people. Now, for example, this current president that has been removed, he applied the American form of democracy and it oppresses people. That's why he's removed. Any government in America, in Africa, America speak against it. That country, that government is true democracy. Now, life may not go as the way you want it because you are fighting to liberate. Somebody had to sacrifice. Somebody had to make the sacrifice. And I think this current generation, we are realizing that if we don't make the sacrifice right now, our children that are coming, that are growing up, they will live the same life we are living. So somebody had to make the sacrifice. And that is what I think this generation have come to realize, and we are making the sacrifice. Because the kind of democracy America define, they do not, it's different from the African form of democracy. The African form of democracy is the best. Now you may ask me, what do you mean? The form of democracy that was in DRC Congo before America went and killed, FBI went and killed, the European went and killed Petro Lumumba, it was the best form of democracy over American democracy. Any good democracy will not survive because America will come and kill you and kill it. The Western world will come and kill you and kill it. Haiti had a perfect democracy. America went against it. So that is why we cannot use Western definition to fit to our struggle. If you take Western definition, if you take Western model, you will oppress your people. They killed Thomas Sankara, that was functioning as a Democrat or as a democratic nation or institution that cared for all people. A government that came in and reduced all government salary. In fact, this was a man taking $400. This was a man taking $400. In fact, he said in his administration, if he can make 2 government officials to use 1 car, he will. So he limited every government official to 1 car, and not even kind of fancy car, 1 car. 1 vaccine provided for his people. Food provided for his people. He put his people to work on a farm. He told his people, if our people in America build a railroad, we can build it in Burkina Faso. He put his people to work. America said, no, this man is empowering his people. And the democracy in Africa to empower your people, it is against America's form of democracy. That is why you cannot take Western form of democracy or policy and you infuse it into your country governing system. You will be oppressing your people. Thank you, folks. I will see you all next week and also Saturday. Peace.